very important for people to really take that initiative to at least just look at the top level, because this area is impacting everything from whatever angle of your life it is, from travel through to insurance, through to healthcare, through to manufacturing, whatever industry that you have some acquaintance with, even getting in your car. I mean, new cars are packed with AI and packed with learning and packed with all these technologies. And to get that car in shape, they had to leverage a lot of technology to be able to map it and design it and all these different things. So I'd encourage people to just learn about it, use our site, the AI Journal, visit us for things that you want to check out, listen to podcasts such as this with yourself, Dingu. But yeah, just keep on learning about it and keep having an optimistic mind is what I'd say.
Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of Engatica's interview series. I'm your host Dingo Sagar, and we are really glad to have you join us today. And today we have Tom Allen, the founder of AI Journal, on our show. Welcome to the show, Tom.
Brilliant to be here. Thank you for having me. Very excited for the topics we're going to be speaking about today, Dingo.
Good. So before we get started, a little bit about Engatica. So Engatica interview series is a powerhouse of insights from industry experts and influencers from all around the world. A platform that provides the latest news on AI, automation, and technologies that will help you grow your business. Come be part of our community. Let's learn, share, and grow together. So let's jump right into the questions, Tom. So you have founded AI Journal. So AI Journal is like a free open source innovation hub on AI technologies. Could you talk a little bit about what it does and what are the things that you guys do there?
Yeah, of course. So it's great to be here and great to talk around these kind of things and what we see with emerging technologies and through various different sources. So really, I started the AI Journal back in February. I started it December 2019, but we didn't launch till February 2020, or the end of February 2020. And today we've really built it up to, and I didn't expect it to be what it is, but really built it up to be that kind of open source hub. And we always committed to making sure that all the content, anyone from any industry or background relating to emerging tech, and that goes into things such as skills, the talent gap, and people like that can come to our platform and write about these kind of topics. As a business, we offer various services to really help businesses make better decisions, whether it's through bespoke research or things like webinars or our awards program. So it's really exciting to see that area develop. But what the key value add for me is, the key focus for me is to make sure we're giving back and to make sure that we're focusing on helping people make better decisions. And that's how it started. And that's what I really want to always encompass within the business, not have it as something that's here. Obviously, a business needs to make money and a business needs to tick along. And through that, we'll be able to have more resource to help more people. But I really want it to be open to people of all backgrounds, all across the world, whatever background or history or industry or whatever that is. I want them to have a say, because I think that's where new ideas come from. There's no way. And this isn't to slate off other publishing companies, but there's no way in my eyes, how I can see it, how am I supposed to have all the knowledge as a writer if I'm not welcoming people from those backgrounds that are in the trenches, doing the work every day, day in, day out, learning about the data, doing autonomous driving, doing VR headsets, doing all these kind of emerging tech topics, or doing RPA, whatever it might be. I just think it's a much better way to create new engagements, new ideas. And that's really what's at the core of what we do. And I mean, we do have our services where we help customers from startups right through to publicly traded to leverage that understanding and soon a membership. But without turning that into a sales pitch, I mean, we really do exist as an open source hub to help people, Dingo, to really show what we're building and how people can use these technologies and to stop that kind of scarcity mindset. So it's very important for me. And the only reason I got into it was because I didn't know around these topics. So it made only the right sense to build that. And I'm very grateful for everyone, as you were saying earlier and the team was saying earlier, that to get noticed for it. It's not really good for me, but it's helpful for other people. And I always try and think, how can we help more people with this platform? And that's ultimately always going to be the goal, or I hope that stays as the goal.
Right. Cool. Tom, we are moving towards a world where technology has become like a inseparable part of our lives, and the pace of innovations of these new technologies, like whether it's AI or blockchain or metaverse, are happening at a very good pace. Since technology impacts all our lives, how important is it to educate people on these emerging technologies?
Yeah, very important. It's one of the key things, really, isn't it? It's to make sure that people understand these kind of topics, and without the right education, without the right tools, and I've seen a lot of businesses do this shift to making sure they are educating people. Because even if you're not in a business where you're leveraging these technologies, whether it's AI and cloud and IoT and whatever technology solution you're using, it's very important to have at least a top level view. And I was literally talking about it earlier today with a company called Protivity over in the UK, and they're brilliant management consultants for this kind of area. And yeah, it's very important. I mean, there's a company I'm involved with, Alpha Lake. They do a great job at educating people around healthcare, around what these technology can do for things like the NHS and abroad, further than that as well, for clinicians and all these different areas, which I'll have to have my hand up and say I don't fully understand it yet, but I'm learning very quickly as being part of that company. But it's very important that the education piece gets there, because if I stuck you, and I don't know, you might turn around and say you've got a pilot's license, Dingu, but if I stuck you in the cockpit of a plane and just said take off with a full 300 people on board, you're going to get very scared very quickly, I'd imagine. And it's very hard. It's that exact same kind of area that you're going to get scared of these technologies. You're going to get worried. You get scared of things you don't know. Like you get worried when you know things that, like, you don't know what's behind the door or what's going to happen next. But that's why it's so important for us. And that's what we ultimately aim to do. And it's not just us. I'm seeing a range of companies and the conferences that we partner with, AI Summit, they do a brilliant job at educating people from a very highly technical level. If you really know around the machine learning topics and know about the data and know about the whatever it might be, analytics, and how to customize your dashboard and how to look at your data sets better, right through to top level. What does this mean as an outcome for a business? What does this mean for the sales and marketing team? What does this mean for the operations or the recruitment process? So looking at it from a very goal-driven and outcome approach for companies that might not want to get too involved in it, but it's very imperative. And I mean, I always touch on the school system. I think I don't know what the situation is with you and where you're based, but it would, Dingu, but I would look at it from how can kids and people understand these topics? And again, what we've been talking around on our AI Journal LinkedIn Lives, which we've got to get you on at some point, to really show and leverage this education so it's becoming a part of everyday life, because it's in everything. I'm literally surrounded by it in my flat, and I'm not in a tech flat. I've got my laptop, I've got my mobile phone. My mobile phone uses Siri. This uses Siri. Like all these different tools, and like I can get any tool I want up on my screen within minutes now. Like you can sign up. So a lot of tools you don't need a credit card, and a lot of tools you can get through, and you're leveraging a lot of AI machine learning with a very quick access to it. So I think it's very important people know about this, because it is impacting their day-to-day job. You can say, oh, but I'm a sports player, and I'll never touch data and all that kind of stuff. But if you can leverage data to show you where you need to improve, where you need to throw better throws, and that's why that film was made around it with what's his name, Brad Pitt, because it was showing how they took him to the World Series through leveraging data and showing the players like this is all you need to focus on, and they weren't considered great players. So it's in everything. Like it really is across the board, and I think it's very important, without ranting too much, about how we need to do this, Dingu. And I think a lot of companies are making that shift, thankfully. But the next thing is to really show people how they can use these tools. But very important. It's what we try and do for companies and try and help them with.
Right. I guess, as you said, because all of us are users of these tools, it's important that whether you're a technologist or not, it's important that you have a high level understanding of these emerging technologies, so that you would have a say in it. So one side thought that I can think of is, so in AI, so there is this whole AI regulations and what are the best guidelines to design AI systems, and there's a huge research going into that area, and
Yeah,
the rules and the guidelines that we put as forward should be representative of everyone. So it shouldn't be like a bunch of tech guys in a conference room designing all these rules about how the robots needs to interact with the human beings. So it's better if more and more people outside technological background also come into this domain and
exactly.
collaborate, right?
Exactly. And you see things with tools like ServiceNow and Workato as just two tools that I've seen. they're people. You don't need to be a technology person to be able
Right.
to leverage those to automate your processes and stuff, and to do, or as Wakata call it, recipes. It's just it's a way of showing how can I get something done quicker and how do I not need to touch it. So it's very important. You make a very good point, Dingu.
Right. Okay. So the next question is around open source business models. So recently, Meta has released a massive language model. So language model is a machine learning model which understands text and the way we express uh, in natural language. So there's a big language deep learning model which this Meta has released, and like thinking about open source in general, it's always good for the consumers and for the innovation in general, because it accelerates the innovation, because
Yeah.
more people can come and see what is happening and contribute to it. It's like rather than few people designing a system, the entire world is uh, putting their heads and moving the innovation bar ahead, right?
Yeah.
So my question is regarding sustainable open source business models. Like, what are your thoughts on open source business models?
Yeah, it's a great point. It's imperative for businesses to use them today because it really is. We're at a time where information is so. I don't think companies are going to get along very well if they try and hide information. They try and be very secure about it. Also, I get if it's a piece of IP or like if it's a piece of software that you don't want talking about. But I don't think there's any harm in talking openly. A lot of businesses are doing this shift around best thinking models and best ideas. I mean, look at Pixar. Pixar are arguably the best film production company out there. Arguably, I don't know if they are, and you can disagree or agree about as much as you want, but they're very top level. And they're only really well. The book of Creativity Inc. talks about how they get to that level, and they talk around doing brain trust before this whole open source model was a big thing or a growing thing. Like that's the whole reason I started. I said I want to be open source because I want people to really have access to it. There's no charge. Like as long as you're not making it overly promotional, we want to hear your thoughts, we want to hear your opinions on these topics that, quite frankly, I wouldn't be able to write about. So it's very important. And there's this book, where they do brain trust at Pixar, and the book's called Creativity Inc. And it was basically getting people from HR to a janitor to a machine learning engineer or a animation designer, right through to a film director, and sticking them all in the same room, and saying what films can they, what ideas can they come up with, what do they come up? Because you're going to challenge each other in a much different way if you've got someone from sales challenging someone from HR, challenging someone from a business operations point of view, challenging two people from the design and animation studio. You're going to get better ideas because you're going to have people looking at it from a user point of view. The user experience is going to be a lot higher and you're going to understand the user a lot better because although they're in the company, they're more of a user when they watch a Pixar film or take their kids to go watch it. And that's what I kind of got from it. And that's what really, I think I read it before I started the AI Journal. And that's what kind of gave me the idea. I was like, I need something where people can contribute and have an idea. But for businesses, it's, I mean, you can look at the App Store, the Android store against the Apple Store. Android is very open source, and they have probably, I don't know the exact stats and details. I'm taking a bit of a guess here, but I know that they are a lot bigger in terms of apps that they allow on, and they are very quick to fix bugs and fix patches because they have it's very open source and it's very open to anyone just kind of criticizing the work and doing things, whereas Apple's very their app store's very niche and they have a lot of control over what goes on, what doesn't go on. So I think there's a pro for it as much as people are obsessed with Apple. And I honestly personally think I don't think Apple are anything special anymore. I'm literally looking at swapping over to Samsung because I think the innovation isn't there. Like they were innovating because they were very select, but that's a different conversation. But looking at it from open source, it's if you're a business and you want to learn quicker, you want to go faster, you want to do more, you've got to have that kind of open source mindset of thinking, well, how can we get different opinions in here? And it's more easier than ever. The COVID age, how many people you'd have to hire within your region or within your area and make sure that they can travel to the office is ridiculous now. You just hire from anywhere you want in the world and you get better people for it and you get better understanding and you get better cultures and you get better from cultures. You'll get disagreements, but those disagreements lead to learning and those learnings lead to better products. They lead to better ideas and they learn to better ideas for that segment of the world or not segment, but for that target area of the world. I mean, if I was going to target I don't know, South America or something, I'd want to go speak to people in South America, because how they buy and what their model is probably a lot different to how we buy in the UK, just like it is to how they buy in Spain, to how we know, because our customers are in the US, how they buy in the US. Like it's different things, whether they're more direct or whether they ask better questions, or what they're more worried about and more concerned about, or what their bigger fears are, or what their goals are. It's all going to change. And I think being open source allows, as a business, when you're hiring people from different cultures, but also when you're trying to create learning libraries and understandings and sharing knowledge, the world's going to do better when that knowledge is available to other people, because you're going to spot things. Someone's going to have an idea that you're not going to have, but you can leverage that idea and turn it into something more. So I'd say you can probably get a feel for it as well, Dingo, with how important I find it and why companies need to make that shift to being open source. I think it's very important.
Right. I totally agree. I couldn't agree more. More collaboration means eyes seeing on nothing means the better it gets. And but one question I had was how does it so from a business perspective, so when you're giving out an open source software, you are giving it out. So otherwise it could have been your proprietary system where your competitors couldn't touch it. Now you're giving it out, and then won't that be a challenge in monetizing the product or service that you are providing? So what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, that's a good point. I don't know to a degree. Obviously, if companies have a piece of software that's IP'd and they don't want to talk around it, and they don't want to disclose details, and they've worked on it and it's behind hidden doors, like fair enough, you shouldn't talk around those things. But maybe for more things top level of how to get to better ideas. And I mean, even that, like, you can't really sell software. Well, you can, but a lot of companies have technology partners, so they have to integrate with other partners. And for them to be able to integrate with you, you're going to have to share some knowledge, either whether it's under NDA or whether it's not, or whether it's specific to their service. Like companies I know, they incorporate all sorts of things from like look at Slack. Look how many plugins you can get for Slack. Like there's going to have to be some sort of data knowledge sharing there, and some sort of, I don't know if it's open source, but some sort of thing. But of course, I wouldn't encourage any company to go, if you've got something special, if you've got some kind of software or algorithm or whatever it might be, that whatever piece of tech or SaaS that you've got that no one has at the moment. Obviously, you want to be quite quiet about it. And like companies, I never understand it. Companies are very quiet around who their customers are. Like these are big brands, and they have God knows how many customers, but they don't talk about them because the customers don't want to be talked about. And it just baffles me. I just think, well, why wouldn't you want to talk about the success of what you're doing? And especially if you're working with government, the government don't want people knowing who they're giving the contract to for whatever reason. I don't know if that's competition or knowing who's going to come in, or whether they're going to try and delve into how much the contract was. All these kind of things. It kind of baffles me, because I think, well, if it was me, the whole world would be an open library. That's just me, but it's especially with an AI. But I mean, it's hard when you look at things that are happening, like regulation, and you look at ethics. So this is a very arrogant view, I think, of mine, and maybe I'm a bit naive because I'm quite young and quite bullish on certain things, and I won't say sorry for that, but I do look at it from maybe regulators over here in the UK are going to struggle to regulate things if they can't get the full information. The only way they can get full information is companies being more honest and transparent, because even Uber, like there's a series on at the moment through Paramount Plus, and you get it for free to anyone in the UK through Sky, and it's called Super Pumped. Is it Super Dumped? Super Pumped? And it's around Uber, and it's about how Uber went up, and they literally bypassed all the security laws from the TV series. I don't know the full details. I haven't read the articles, but it seems pretty legit. And I don't think they'd be able to talk about it in such detail if it wasn't legit. But they basically bypassed all of Apple's laws for data privacy, and basically looked at, like, they were basically picking out people, regulators that were trying to sue, and they just wouldn't let them pick them up. They wouldn't let the cars pick these people up from the national government or from like the transport department or whatever it was. I don't know exactly. You'll have to watch it, but it's a whole episode on like how they basically built that, gone against that trust. So I think it's very important on that angle, because how are these companies supposed to make decisions, and how are they supposed to help companies with regulation and stuff if they don't know about it? So I think it's got this risk concerns, but at the same time need to be open, need to share it. Otherwise, it's going to hinder a lot of innovation, especially in a topic that's very misunderstood at the moment. It's becoming a bigger topic, it's becoming a much bigger topic, but I'm sure you'll agree, or hopefully you'd agree, Dingo, it's very unknown at the moment. Where are we going to be in 10 years? All these stupid predictions saying where, and that's my personal point of view. We don't know. Like, you don't know what you're doing tomorrow. Like, you have an idea of what you're doing tomorrow, but I cannot directly tell you with 100% confidence this is happening tomorrow because I might not see tomorrow. Hopefully I do, but I think it's that's why it's so important to without going off track, to share this information and to help people. But I mean, at the same time, you want to help. But I don't see how governments are going to regulate stuff if they don't know what's happening. So that's kind of my
Right,
viewpoint on that. Yeah.
right. I guess, yeah, I agree to it. I guess the whole idea of Web3 and decentralization is also, aligning towards the idea that information used to be the power, and now you don't want the power to be sitting in one centralized place, and you want it to be trustless, permissionless, so that everyone has a say in it.
Yeah.
So that is an interesting way to put it. Another thought, I had heard this from somewhere, some talk. I don't remember who said it, but it is an idea on open sources. It's not about uh, it's not about how big of a pie I get it in the actual pie. It's about let's all our hands and let's build a massive pie. So it's not
Yeah.
about who gets the bigger piece, but let's all join our hands and build a really big
Exactly,
pie.
man.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So
All do
that
better together. I completely agree with that.
right. I guess that brings us to the end of the interview. Are there any other sound bites you would like to share with our audience?
No, just think about your strategy for when you're doing things and go away and learn about these topics because as good as podcast shows like this are, and I encourage people to listen to them, to your episodes, you really need to, if you start learning about something, you won't be as scared about what the future holds with regards to AI and emerging tech. And I mean, things go wrong in any industry. Like if you start a new social media app, you're going to have people that come on and use it for the wrong reasons. But I think it's very important for people to really take that initiative to at least just look at the top level because this area is impacting everything from whatever angle of your life it is, from travel through to insurance, through to healthcare, through to manufacturing, whatever industry that you have some acquaintance with, even getting in your car. I mean, new cars are packed with AI and packed with learning and packed with all these technologies. And to get that car in shape, they had to leverage a lot of technology to be able to map it and design it and all these different things. So I'd encourage people to just learn about it, use our site, the AI Journal, visit us for things that you want to check out, listen to podcasts such as this with yourself, Dingu. But yeah, just keep on learning about it and keep having an optimistic mind is what I'd say.
Thank you so much for sharing your valuable insights with us, Tom. So guys, for more content, subscribe to Engati and tap on the bell icon to get exclusive access to content from various thought leaders around the globe. Thank you for tuning in. We will see you with a new expert soon. Thank you.
Really appreciate it. Thank